The Wondery app and Wondery Plus are shutting down and moving over to Audible. Audacy has just released new features to distribute your podcast on YouTube. Crooked Media is headed to cable television, well, kind of. And TikTok has just launched its first full-length exclusive podcast. All this in this episode of the Podcast Industry Brief. I'm your host, Jacob Gooden. Let's get into the news. Kicking the news off, we're taking a look at Amazon shutting down the Wondery podcast app as well as the Wondery Plus subscription. They're going to be shifting all 200 plus shows from Wondery over into the Audible app. In conjunction with this, they also announced that Audible is creating what's called the standard plan. This is a new plan for them. It's going to be $8.99 a month, which gets you an audiobook as well as access to all of the Wondery podcasts and Audible original content. I think this just kind of makes sense. Amazon is dealing with a lot of different platforms, streaming platforms, right? In general, it makes sense that they would try to streamline them a little bit. To me, it makes sense that Audible and Wondery would come together and create some kind of hybrid app, but I don't use either of these platforms. So if you are someone who uses these platforms and has an opinion on it, I would love to hear it down below if you prefer one platform over the other. Next up in the news, Audacy Creator Labs has expanded its distribution tools with new YouTube integration. You'll now be able to upload your video podcast to Audacy. It'll send it to YouTube as well as pull the audio and send that out in the RSS feeds to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your other favorite podcast platforms. One thing to take note of is that it will not currently submit your video to Apple or Spotify, even though both those platforms either do currently or are to soon be supporting video podcasts. That is something I would like to see added in the future. However, one thing that is cool is that your dynamic ad insertion, at least on the audio side, will remain the same. So if you're using Audacy and like their dynamic ad services, this still remains intact, even with the fact that it's also going to get uploaded to YouTube. I do like this as a move as far as the ability to have your single piece of content be put one place, sent to all these different platforms. I think it is a smart move. Linked in this article, they also had this, which is the explainer of how to link your YouTube channel to the Creator Lab, to Audacy Creator Lab. This will all be listed down below. It's the step-by-step walkthrough of everything you need to do that. Third up on our news doc is that MS Now has inked a deal with Crooked Media to air Pod Save America and more of its shows on TV. I put this in asterisks because actually what they're going to be doing is creating a weekly highlight reel that airs on Saturdays. And it'll have a new intro and an outro from some of your favorite hosts on the Crooked Media team. And it'll just kind of highlight, right, what happened that week in politics. Now, MS Now is no stranger to having podcast episodes on the air. They do that with their own internal podcasts or have in the past. So it'll be interesting to see if Crooked Media eventually signs a deal allowing access to the full podcast episodes or not. But very interesting indeed. Again, we're seeing more podcasts headed towards our TV screens. Next up on the dock is TikTok. TikTok has finally said, we want a piece of the podcast pie, right? Obviously, a lot of clips from podcasts get posted on TikTok, but now they have their own full-length, feature-length podcast airing exclusively on TikTok. So they have just launched TikTok in the Mix, which is a music show. It's hosted by Jack Coyne, and he sits down with artists for about 30 minutes or so and asks them about their process, asks them about new music that they listen to, and just about life in general. I did watch 2 of the episodes that have aired so far, and I'm not going to lie, I found myself actually like sitting through most of it and not like feeling, I don't know, like I was watching an extremely long TikTok video. One thing I will note for the editors out there, I did pick up on those episodes that the first like 2 minutes of the podcast are like super highly edited, very TikTok retention bait style. But as the episode goes on, it very much graduates into just kind of a back and forth as each person is speaking with very minimal like punch-ins, that kind of a thing. But it'll be really interesting to see, do they stick with this? How does this play out? Will other shows start to see success like this? And can we even call this a podcast, right? We're continuing to have this conversation of what is a podcast, and if it lives exclusively on TikTok and not in an RSS feed or in an audio format, can it be considered a TikTok? Or I'm sorry, can it be considered a podcast? Yet to be determined, I guess. In a bit of interesting podcast news, Supreme has done a collaboration with Shure, the microphone company, to put out some MV7 Pluses with the Supreme branding on them. They're a bright red color. They've got Supreme on them. They come with stands. They look cool. Obviously, they look on brand for Supreme and their collectibles, right? So definitely not something I will be picking up, but I'm interested to see if these do pop up at some point in some of our favorite podcast episodes, or if they're in the background on a shelf as kind of a decoration piece. Let me know down in the description. Are you going to be picking up one of these for your collection? I'd love to know. We're going to take a little detour away from breaking podcast news and instead look at some case studies about podcast advertising in 2026 and what we're seeing already. So iHeartMedia has put out the state of podcasting in 2026, everything that advertisers need to know. Few key takeaways that I thought were interesting is that 55% of Americans are regularly tuning into podcasts. This is the highest we've ever seen that number before. Also, additionally to that, people trust podcasts more than other forms of traditional media and when compared to social media, Americans find podcasts 23 times more trustworthy. So very interesting there. If we scroll down even more, the trust gap is real and podcasts fill it. Something that I thought was interesting in here was listeners pay closer attention to podcast ads than ads in any other medium. They often take action after hearing an ad, and they credit podcasts with introducing them to new products and services. This is something I find interesting because I feel like from someone who very much exists in the podcasting space and talks to podcasters, podcast editors, those types of things, a lot of us skip advertising, right? It tends to be at the beginning of an episode, even in the middles, right? And at the end, and we either shut it off, skip it, that kind of a thing. We're not paying attention to the advertising. However, when I talk to normies, for lack of a better word, but when I talk to people like my parents and members of my family, I'm very interested to hear how they might skip the ads at the beginning, but if an advertisement is playing in the middle of a podcast, they're less likely to skip it. And how much they've actually bought, right? The decision making that has gone into it. My dad has bought multiple things, coffee, running shoes, all kinds of stuff off of recommendations from podcasters. My mom is constantly asking me about things like BetterHelp or HelloFresh, things that she's hearing on podcast episodes. So it obviously is working to some degree. If I hop over here into Magellan AIs, they dropped the top podcast advertisers from January of this year. I thought it was really interesting that T-Mobile, BetterHelp, Quince, FanDuel, and Rocket Companies, which makes up Rocket Money, they are in the top 5 as far as what their spending is. You can see here, if you're watching on video, some of them are actually down from the month before. And then over on this side, we can see what genres they're primarily hitting, right? And what's interesting is that a lot of the top advertisers are really primarily focused on sports, and then comedy seems to be the second most advertised platform. If we scroll even farther down on this, we can look at the top movers and shakers, right? So these are the people who are coming into the space and spending way more than they did in months previous. Intuit is the number one. It is tax season, so obviously we're going to see an uptick, but they went from spending under $500,000 to over $2.8 million in advertising, right? So insane jump there. Same with Unilever. We went from like $200,000, a little over $200,000 in spending in December up into $1.7 million in January. So just absolutely insane numbers there. Monday.com, another one that went from spending $0 on podcast advertising to $1.3 million. So these things are important to kind of keep like an eye on, right? As podcasters, we need to know who's advertising in the space. Also, like what are the top genres that are being advertised in? And so that as we approach brands, right, who maybe want to sponsor our shows or want to work with us, we can kind of know best how to market to them. Now we're going to pivot away from the news and into some tech and software stuff, things that are new in that arena. I wanted to first highlight something that's coming to all of my Apple users for iOS 26.4. They have a new update in the camera app, and it's something called Audio Zoom. So what this feature is supposed to be doing, I guess, is that when you zoom your camera in on a subject, it's going to focus in on that and put its efforts into picking up the sounds specifically from that. This could be great if you're recording outdoors, right? And I know many podcasters are getting into a space where maybe they're recording on the go. So something like this could be very helpful, could be helpful in a pinch if you want to reduce noise. I don't know. It's not out yet, or if it is, I haven't played with it yet. It's something I'm looking forward to trying out and seeing if it'll help in a pinch. Or if carrying my wireless mic set is going to still be worth it. Probably, but it's always worth it to see what's coming down the pipeline. Another software update comes from PodPage. They just added this white glove service to migrate your WordPress website into a PodPage. If you're not familiar with PodPage, what they do is very easily create websites for your podcast. If we scroll down here, we can see it's 3 simple steps. You paste your RSS feed, you pick a template, you customize, and you publish. Okay. If we scroll up a little bit, we can get a little sense of some of the websites that they've built. Obviously look like a podcast website, right? Some of them, nothing special. Others look definitely a little bit more customized and unique, but a very cool product, and really cool that now you're going to be able to pull your WordPress site into PodPages. It definitely doesn't sound like it's going to keep everything from your WordPress site. However, it will pull all of the content off of that and reformat it into your new website. And lastly, but not least, PocketCast has also added some new features. They sent me this email looking at 3 ways they're leveling up their listening. Number 1 is skip intros and outros automatically. They say here, heard a podcast intro too many times, set custom skip times, and jump straight to the good stuff automatically on every episode. I think this is really fascinating. As we talked about before with advertising at the beginning of your podcast, right? A lot of times that's like a set predetermined amount of time. And we know that, hey, 2 minutes into the episode, that's when the ads are wrapping up. It seems really interesting that they're adding this feature, right? To allow you to just say, hey, on my favorite podcast, just jump ahead 2 minutes, right? And let's skip the fluff and get right into the conversation. I think this is a cool feature. Definitely something that's, I think, going to make podcasters start to readjust their advertising strategies. The second thing, they added a fall asleep without losing your cue feature. So drift off without worrying about your cue playing all night. Set the sleep timer to end episode, and PocketCast will pause right when your current episode wraps. Again, very standard feature. I think we're seeing this on a lot more products now as we're falling asleep to whether it's videos or audio or things like that. Having that sleep timer is really important. So it's not playing all night, but also saves your spot, right? Super helpful there. Lastly, upload your own files. PocketCast isn't just for podcasts. Add your own audiobooks, lectures, or voice memos, and keep everything in one place. I think this is an interesting feature. So for those of us who buy audiobooks directly from publishers, right? Maybe not from Amazon, but are able to download them on our own things. Now we can put those into our Audible app, or our PocketCast app. So cool feature there. Excited to play around. PocketCast is something I have been trying to use on a more regular basis in my own personal consumption. And overall, I like it. There's a few hiccups that I'm still working through, but definitely a really cool platform. That's all I've got for you on this week's podcast industry brief. If there's anything you think I missed, drop it in the comments. I would love to check it out and potentially feature it on next episode. If you liked the video, make sure to like it, comment it, subscribe it, send it to a friend. We'll do what all the internet things you know how to do. And until next time, we'll see ya.